I gotta say, war is hell. Uh, yeah, I just wrapped up season one of Star Wars: The Clone Wars. It's been many years since I revisited this series, uh, but it's fun to revisit it again, especially gearing up for the Obi-Wan series at the end of May. So yeah, Star Wars: Clone Wars season one. Yeah, man, I am just knowing what we know now just makes it all the sadder what will transpire at the end of all this, leading into like the days of Ray and the sequel trilogy and like what's going on with them. It's like all this stuff leading up to what happened with Kylo Ren and so forth. It's just like makes it all the more sadder. It's like there's awesome moments and then there's bittersweet moments. It's like after the my review for the Clone Wars movie, Attack of the Clones, leads into the Clone Wars. And we see, not only Anakin, Padme, Obi-Wan, and like C-3PO, R2, and like, like you see like, the clone trooper Rex, all their, and a lot of Jedi, all their, oh, well, just not only them, but we get to see all these other Jedi and, their involvement in this war. And it's just like, man, this series really heightens the fact that it puts the war in Star Wars. And it's like, and you get to see all aspects of it. There was this like, it really hits home when it's like, like in one episode I'm gonna be jumping all over the place, but there's one episode where it's like Anakin and Ahsoka and another Jedi. Forgot, it's like one of the alien, Jedi with the two tails, on the back of the head. Which, really, want to put a point on this before I forget. There's some racist like tones to a lot of stuff in Star Wars that not that we gloss over, but it's just like, wow. For a future civilization, it's still some racist overtones. It's like, race against, droids, and racist against, like, they call these, like, humanoid creatures two-tail or tailheads. And I was like, God, that sounds so effed up to hear that, especially from a clone. And even then, it's like some people can be racist towards the clone troopers. But they were, Anakin got hurt in a particular mission. They got trapped on this kind of neutral planet where these kind of like, simian type of, villagers, and the I guess the leader of this group, just was just like what's the word? Very immovable in terms of his beliefs, so far as like, we'll stay neutral. We're not going to help either side. I do not want to get involved because, we don't want to get involved in your war, and like, and cause any lives of my people, which is admirable. They were kind of like Switzerland in a way, but it's just that, you get to see like, Ahsoka is like, why don't you guys fight? Even like the other Jedi Master that was there looking after everything, or at least taking point while Anakin was like incapacitated. Even she had to learn, from this guy who she doesn't believe him half of what he's saying. She understands it, but it's just that, her point is that, even though you don't want to get involved, there's going to be a moment when the situation is going to force you to be involved or force you to take sides in a situation that by and large nobody wants to be involved in, but and then she put the points like we're peacekeepers, and I kind of like the dialogue. He mentions that he tells her like, how many people have you had to take down in order to keep the peace? And it's like, by and large, yeah. I mean, he's wrong and he's right at the same time. And most of this stuff, I'm pretty sure in the next 6 seasons that I'll be going through, it's going to be a lot of like different aspects of this war that is not exactly black and white. And I got a lot about Anakin I want to talk about, but like I like his point where it's like, we're not going to force them to get involved in this war, but I like the way he says towards the end of that particular episode is like, what do you say? He basically like, I understand your viewpoint. If you want to stay neutral, that's fine, and that is your philosophy. But I gotta follow my philosophy too, and that's protecting and saving lives. And it's like the Simeon leader's nephew or son, rallied the other villagers to come get involved in this thing because they gotta protect their home, but they're not going to stand aside because that tradition is just like it's been working so fine so far. But I guess these people who will have no qualms of like just annihilating, because that's just like ignorant, and it goes to show that just because you're old doesn't mean you're all so wise. It's like your beliefs is going to get your people killed because just because it works so far, you never had to deal, or any of your ancestors probably never had to deal with these separatists who just have no qualms of pillaging, killing, and enslaving any planet and anybody that's on it. And this is the fact that like he just could not see it. It's just like, I think he saw it towards the end, but it was just like, it's just glaring to me. And the season starts off pretty strong. Like, of course, the first episode gotta be with Yoda, and like really highlights like Yoda's skill, and of course, like after the events of the Attack of the Clones, you see like all the Jedi now have to be generals in this war because now we're dealing with Sith Lords who are, trying to use the Separatists in order to, rule the galaxy, and they can't, let that just stand by and let that happen. So now they still maintain the whole ideal of peacekeepers, but it's just that now their mindset is like, at least to some extent, like their mindset is kind of like not completely shifted, but it seems like they're like this one particular episode that kind of put a fine point of how how much war changes people. Even somebody as like altruistic as Jedis are, there's a green tentacle headed guy that you see get spoiler alert, killed by Sidious at the end of, who's trying to fight with Windu against Sidious at the end of the Revenge of the Sith, Kit Fisto, who I'm pretty sure was voiced by Phil Lamar. You just sound like Phil Lamar in my head. I didn't bother to check, but pretty sure that's him. And he and a couple of stormtroopers or clone troopers at this point in time go to this particular planet who has this kind of fortress that turns out to be the fortress of General Grievous. And he rendezvous with his former Padawan who just went through the Jedi trials to officially become a Jedi Knight himself, or a Jedi Master, I think, but haven't got to the point of getting his own Padawan. And and it's like, you know, those little blue title screens that open up at the beginning of like a lot of Star Wars movies, like Galaxy Far Far Away kind of thing. Each of these episodes have like kind of like a quote that kind of pertains to a particular situation. And this one, I forgot, but I probably should write some of these down. But it pertains to what we see from Kit Fisto's former Padawan. What, you know, it's like forgetting himself and let his like kind of like rage, you know, consume him, or maybe not his rage, but just hubris. It's just you know, like, you know, the war has changed him in a way. The fact that, you know, him, you know, both these these Jedi's are trying to take on Grievous, and they're at first was getting the upper hand, but of course General Grievous got 4 lightsabers, and you know he's taking on a couple of clone troopers, and Fisto and this Padawan or former Padawan is taking this, you know, taking him on, but it's like he's not listening to Fisto, and like Fisto's trying to tell him to be mindful, or at least control himself, and don't let you know the situation change him. And it's like, you know, this, you see, like, I forget what he said, but pretty much like, maybe it's you who has changed, Master. And it just like daunting. You get to see that this war, even somebody as, you know, altruistic as the Jedi's are, you see that they get maybe not tempted by the dark side, but the fact that getting involved in this war, just like in general any war, realistically, you get to see a change in a, you know, person's personality, or at least bring something out of them that was already there, or just, you know, it's just the harshness of war, or at least knowing that someone like Grievous, who, like, after they, like, you see this trophy room where he kept all these ponytails from all the other Jedis that Grievous has taken down. It's kind of like a serial killer in a way, and that kind of enrages this guy. It's pretty much like the same species as the calamari people, Mon Calamari people, and of course he gets, you know, taken down by Grievous, which is like, you know, hard, and like Fisto had to watch on this computer monitor, and it's just like a wow, you know, it's like, it's honestly one of my favorite episodes. It's kind of like very heightens the realism of course a lot of these episodes does heighten the realism of this war, but this is like, you know, really put a fine point. This like have nothing to do with the main characters. This is like, you know, this kid who by and large is not a kid, but is like mid-20s. He's still like young-ish, even though he's like officially an adult in a way, and he's just like a young soldier. And you know, it's just, you know, that's another thing. Like Ahsoka Tano, she's like very young in this, and like you almost forget, you know, how young she was getting involved into this war. It's kind of like Naruto. If you watch like the anime Naruto, and it's like these young ninja getting involved into this ninja school, and then to become like Geni, and then Joni, and then and so on. And it's like not necessarily indoctrinated because you're not forced to, but it's like it's like a calling in a way, and it's just like that reality. And this guy, you know, is just like that. It's just like you see a lot of that, even with like the clone troopers. There's one episode where this, you know, clone trooper has completely betrayed his brethren for like not only money but his like freedom, because he feels like, you know, the Jedi is like ironically controlling them. We'll eventually get to that down the line, but it's like, I want my freedom. I don't want to fight in this war. And it's just like, you know, he's, you know, weary. And it's like, you know, it's like, it's not like, it's kind of like world weary, but it's like, you know, battle weary, I guess. Where he just like, he just wanted all to stop. He just doesn't care anymore. He still loves his brothers, but he doesn't realize, or he does realize, but it's just like he's just like just mentally he's just exhausted, and it's like maybe the only people who can probably understand this kind of. I like to see like former soldiers react to certain episodes of the Clone Wars series, because I'm pretty sure they will have a better understanding of what it's like to I've seen guys like that who get like just exhausted of this war, and they just ready to go home. Some get battle hardened and start loving the fight in itself, and take it too far, and some just wants to abandon it altogether, even to the point where a few might even betray just to make it stop. There was other clone trooper who collects it kind of reminds me of the first Universal Soldier, the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, which now I think about it, it's probably a good idea to do a review for that movie at some point. But there's a lot of Van Damme movie I want to review for the channel. But Dolph Lundgren's character, I remember distinctly because, ironically, I was kind of a kid and I probably should have been watching a fair bit of his stuff. My father didn't mind. He's like, it's action movies. He can handle it kind of situation. But Dolph Lundgren's character, I forgot the character's name, but I remember distinctly he collected a lot of ears from not only the enemy, but a lot of, people he just kills in general. And one of the clones, even though he's not that crazy, but you can see that kind of tendency, or at least kind of mindset where he's the war got to the point where it's he said to himself, these, they call them clankers, because I guess these droids where they clank and walk, they clank when they walk. And he's these clankers took so much from us, I just want to take something from them for once. And I think he took the droid's fingers and put them in a big key ring, like a Jander's big key ring kind of situation. And it's holy shit, it's it's kind of serious. It's and I all these clones get little by little in each episode. You see every time you see their faces, you have to see a distinct feature that they want to make sure because each one has their own, as pointed out in the Attack of the Clones film, they eventually find their own individuality. And you get to see that here as each one of these clones have different hairstyles, different tattoos, some have facial hair, and some just looks like the generic clones. But more and more you get to see that progress of the distinctions. Yeah, man, and there was a lot of I want to get to there was a particular episode they dealing with biological warfare. Now this is like a generic German scientist who created this what do you call it, shadow virus or blue virus or something like that. And he's going to because normally, because this is supposed to be an extinct virus generations ago, been eradicated, but he somehow brought it back. But normally it's only infectious if it's mixed with liquid, like water. But he managed to turn it into a vapor form, a gaseous state. So each one in a particular explosive canister can spread on, you place one in a particular planet, so that way once it goes off, they've caused a massive pandemic, which would nullify any kind of purpose to because I even doubt the separatists will want something like this. The fact that there's no, I mean they do find like a cure to it, which I imagine they will eventually figure that out. But it wouldn't make no sense if you have like that kind of scientist in your employ. You want to make sure that he sets up an antidote that only they will at least have, because you wouldn't just have somebody create like a virus to unleash on multiple planets to cause a galaxy-wide pandemic, ironically, and in your employ just to take down your enemy. That seems like, cut off your nose to spite your face. It's kind of like, it wouldn't make no sense to me. I thought that was very confusing. It's like, you wouldn't have like an antidote at the very least for your people to use. Yeah, again, he seemed like just one of those kind of just mad scientist kind of deals. And I want to get to Anakin, because there's a lot I want to talk about Anakin. You get to see, like, because I'm pretty sure by the next few seasons, you get to see more and more of the change leading into Revenge of the Sith. There's, a lot of times you see him just like joke, like, and you see him like become like a good leader himself, and especially when it comes to being the Jedi Master to Ahsoka, his Padawan. And it's like, you see a lot, of influence from Ahsoka when it came to, her reckless, or at least outbursts to talk back to superiors. It's like, you know where she gets it from. She gets it from Anakin. It was treats, they're kind of like a father-daughter kind of relationship. But it's like, but even though it's fun seeing these two banter, but when he gets serious, holy shit! It's like it's like when he threatens that German scientist, trying to get like, information about getting the antidote about that virus. You can see in his eyes, he was ready to, because if he was in Vader, complete Vader at this point, he wouldn't hesitate to like, oh, you don't have the answer? Well, there's no reason for me to keep you alive. And he would have just cut his head off right in that moment. But like, you could see the moment, like he was ready to straight up like torture him for, the answers. And it's like, you hear in his voice, and it's like the bubbling rage, especially when it comes to like Padme. It's like, he's throws any kind of reason to the wind, and it's like all his good qualities that we see right now, and when he becomes Vader, all that is just perverted at that point, because like, his skills as a pilot and as a near, you can tell like he utilizes that same method as Vader down the line. Spoiler alert, obviously. It's like, his recklessness, and it's like his skills make him just as deadly in the air as it is on the ground. But man, when he utilizes his skills, like using the Force and like and his lightsaber skills, as he is just dominates, and it is just like you see Anakin in action, and it's just like, when it's like the tiger turned on at that moment, and it's like, oof, man, it's just frightening. And like in this, you actually see like we don't see the chemistry in the films. We get to see better in the TV shows, because I'm pretty sure the voice actors get along better than Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman. But man, it's a good, strong, like, first season. I didn't bother with like because I don't even think it's on Disney Plus, the original one that kind of looks like a 2D thing, which is fine. And I didn't obviously put in the Clone War, the movie version of the Clone Wars series. I just decided to skip that part for the sake of time. I'll probably eventually get to it down the line, but I don't think, it's just like introducing Ahsoka. And a lot of people mention how like annoying Ahsoka is in the first season. And I think that's possibly, I could be half remembering that they probably mean the Clone Wars series movie. But I'm pretty sure some also mentioned about the first season here, where she get kind of whiny and annoying. Every so often, I get that, especially when she's like so inexperienced at this point of the game. But the voice actor, you can, once we progress, when she, progress in her own as this character, you get to see Ahsoka also progress and become more mature and a bit wiser, and you get to see her coming into her own in this season, where it's like she's not 100%. When she, there's a moment in an episode where she lost a lot of her own troop in this space battle, and she is like hesitant on taking any action because like, oh my god, I lost a lot of lives under my, and it's like I don't want to be responsible. And Anakin's telling her like, you are responsible. And I was like, because even Anakin had to mention to her like, you gotta follow the chain of command. Even though like both of them like question it, or at least go behind their backs, but it's kind of like I find that very hypocritical in just a little bit. It's not like outside the character, but it's just that I don't know. It's just you telling her one thing and doing another. But I guess there's like a middle ground. I guess he's trying to teach her. But it's just like you gotta listen to your betters. But if you find another way and you can make it work, I guess it all works out at the end. But it's just that's just part confusing to me in a way. It's like I get what you're saying, but I also don't get it. I wish it would be a little bit more consistent. But beyond that, Obi-Wan is great. Don't really have any issues with him, except like there's a particular episode where they on this. I don't think it's Hoth, but it could be Hoth. There's only one snowy planet that I could think of, but there's one planet where they find these villagers that count like abominable snowman type of creatures with these little snouts on their face, and there's this like young senator girl, and this like admiral or somebody of like some kind of rank, and he seemingly just inserted himself just because he's like he got all these battles and got to the station, and it's like the senator is and that's a part about about chain of command. He just like thinking just because he's a little girl, he doesn't respect the chain of authority. She is there, he has to listen to her. But just because they're in a war, or at least in like or in their own little airspace, it's like I'm willing to die for my people. Are you? And it's like he talks to this woman like that, not only disrespecting her authority, but also just mansplaining and all this other stuff. And like you see like Anakin and Obi-Wan just standing there, and yeah, they're by and large can't interfere when it comes to these type of politics and what have you. But it's like, say something. Don't just let this dude just berate this girl, the way he's doing, or at least like mansplaining and all the other stuff. It was just like, that annoyed me. And I was happy that he got taken down at the end of the episode the way he has, because like it's one of those kind of like kind of characters you see in like movies with generals who don't respect like the it's kind of like the Avatar, like with the Naboo. Naboo, like the Avi or Navi. That's what I mean. I combined the two words. It's kind of like the Navi when that general dude, straight up was willing to like, take down these like allegories to Native Americans, and you see this happening here where it's like, I don't respect their sovereignty. They're savages and blah blah blah, and it's like you want that guy to be off. Who cares? It's like it's completely like he was a complete dick. So nobody feels bad for him. But yeah, man. And you get to see like one of the Bad Batches here, Echo, and you get to see Rex. It's fun to see these guys in the early stages. I'm pretty sure we'll get to see other members of the Bad Batch throughout the series, and once again see their progression as well. And you get to see a nice little like moments with these clone troopers. It makes it all the more statter that the bulk of them are gonna just be mind controlled by the end of the Revenge of the Sith. And it's like, wow, it's just like a lot of these people looked up to these particular clones, like Fives, Rex, and Hunter and Echo, and all these people, like at least most of these famed clone troopers that we come to love, make it out on the other side and not be mind controlled. But the bulk of their forces, their brethren, are completely like mind controlled after the Order 66 was implemented. And it's like, because it reminds me of a scene in Jedi Fallen Order. If you watch my gameplay of that recently, there was a moment when Cal Kestis was visiting a particular planet, and there's this little shrine with like a lot of clone troopers helmets, and it's like a lot of on this planet clone troopers lay down their lives helping the people of this planet, I guess defending them from like separatists at the time. So it's like a lot of time has passed, but he sees this, and like this is probably before Order 66, and he mentions something like, if only if they knew. And it's like, it just makes it all the sadder. Like a lot of these people, either they died during the Clone Wars, or at least they end up turning forced to be turncoats. And it is just like, it just breaks my heart. And it's like, damn, it's like I know what's going to happen to a lot of these guys. And it's just like the downfall of everything. That's why like Revenge of the Sith is going to be like a bittersweet kind of situation all across the board. All the people, what they've been through. And like you see like the relationship between Anakin and Obi-Wan is going to be heightened to the fact because like, you're my brother, Anakin. And it's like, their relationship is like, all the more special, but it's going to be all the more tragic, especially when it comes to Ahsoka and her former master. And it's like, ooh-wee, man. But yeah, that was season 1 so far. And, it's a good, few episodes that really kind of like, stuck out to me that I wanted to bring in. Oh yeah. Do not want to forget, before I end the video, I want to talk about Jar Binks. That was, I think it was episode 3 or 4. What was it? Like, shoot. No, it was episode 8. And I think, yeah, it was episode 8 where, Padme was visiting a world where she knew the senator from there who she knew when she was a little girl, and called her uncle and everything like that. They had like a great relationship between her people and their people. But his people were, that's another part of the war. It's like, sometimes leaders have to make hard choices for the good of their people. His people were starving, and Padme's people, for some reason, I guess they was too busy, involving themselves in the war. They neglected the little people that probably doesn't have like the resources that they, get from the bigger, more like populated plants or what have you. and it's like she mentions at the end, like we don't want to end up forgetting uh, the little people out there, because they are just as important as the ones who have the resources to help fight this war. But then this episode was like, I had to watch at least a few times where like Jar Binks inserted himself in like certain situations, and like I can have done without him, but I can see that even this show so far that I've seen tries to give him some agency. But man, that flopping around, that lame Three Stooges like antics, that's like, God, it's like, y'all, I mean, nobody can make this guy work. I mean, and as good as this show is, it's won all these awards and all this other stuff, because this, Clone Wars series is an amazing show. And so is Rebels, I want to bring to the point where it's like I said, it's like, even this show, as great as it is, can make this character work. It did better than what the movies did, slightly, but it's just like, this character does not work. He does not work. And it was like a poor decision on George, probably the biggest blunder in George Lucas's history with this franchise. But I looked it up because I was so curious to know like what happened with Jar Binks after the whole situation with Revenge of the Sith. And it turns out that, after Order 66 and his involvement giving, Palpatine his power, that he later, spoiler alert, turns into Sidious, or at least reveals himself to be Darth Sidious, and never relinquished his power, and then corrupted and annihilated majority of the Jedi, and essentially took over the galaxy in one fell swoop. At least the bulk of it, the galaxy. Jar Jar was completely exiled from his people. They figured he was like the result of Palpatine getting this power to lead him into this position to do what he's done. Now, I think I mentioned this before, but just in case I didn't, it's like, I don't fault 100% with Jar Jar. I mean, because nobody at that time knew who Palpatine really was. Even though the Jedi, I guess, as strong as Sidious is, he had masked his powers so the Jedi wouldn't know who they're in the presence of. But nobody knew. And why would you think Jar Jar would know? But they obviously don't see it that way. They blame him, who was like one of the dominoes in this domino effect. And it's like now he's like, who's supposed to be like assisting the Senator Padme. Now I remember him like doing like children's parties. He was like very fell down from the high up on the pedestal he was on, and it's like the mighty have down, how the mighty have fallen kind of situation. And it's like he was even like helped with the first battle against like the droids in Phantom Menace, and like he was like as like a general, and given executive powers and all this other stuff, and it's like the biggest friend to Padme and in the Anakin and Obi-Wan, all this stuff. And it's like, despite his goofiness and annoyances, they were their friends. He was their friends, and most either they died or they turned to the dark side. And he was just like, man, I felt like, I think as annoying as he is, I do feel bad. Because it wasn't his fault. Everybody got fooled just like him. I guess, like I said, he was a domino in Palpatine's Sidious's ride to power. So it's like, his life is in the muck. But I'm curious. Well, I don't know if I ever want to see him. Maybe the one time in a preceding series that's set in the sequel trilogy at some point want to see, like, or at least set between Force Awakens and and uh, Return of the Jedi, somewhere between there. I want to see like maybe like a Mandalorian. Well, I don't know about Mandalorian. Don't want to ruin Mandalorian by adding Jar Jar, but at least some note or at least information, like a speech or a blurb or something indicating what happened to like Jar Jar, after like the Empire fell, like was he was returned, at least like allowed to come back to his species and forgiven, and or at least something or other. So we'll know that at least he had a happy ending. We don't have to see it, but we can at least know that he had a happy ending despite many years of just being in exile and looked upon and scorned. But anyway, yeah, season 1. That's my spoiler review. I'm gonna be heading right into season 2. I think like all but the last 3 seasons, I think, are full 22 episodes. But I think the last 2 or 3 seasons are a little bit shorter. So hopefully I can get through these, pretty resounding, because I'm kind of like setting aside any comic book reviews and other movie reviews to solely concentrate on these just to get through them so I can get back into the movies. And I'm gonna be doing the exact same thing with like Rebels and Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett and all that stuff. So I will see you guys next time for season 2 of Star Wars Clone Wars. And don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff to Talkative Carl. I see a lot of people have been like, subscribing lately and enjoying my videos. Appreciate all you guys. You guys have been amazing. So let me know what you guys think of season 1. Have you returned to it recently? Does it give you any kind of new perspective on the franchise as a whole? How would you rank season 1 on like out of all the 7 seasons? How high do you rank it? And which character was your favorite so far in the first season? But anyway, I will see you guys soon. Take care.